Hi, we are back to our course and we are studying some French music, a Sarabande by Robert de Visée. I won't enter into much detail about characteristics of French music because in English there's so much material of such great quality that I would be probably just repeating for a long time information that you already know or you already have very good sources to look for. So I recommend you to, if you don't have this knowledge, just search in YouTube. You can search for French baroque music, and then you for sure will find amazing lectures telling you some characteristics of the baroque music from this country in that period. I have to tell more because it's one of the focus of this music about the inégalité. So very often in French baroque music, people write one rhythm, but they play another. How come, Alvaro? Why do they do that? That's a great question, and I would love to enter in a time machine and have a chat with our friend Robert de Visée and ask him, de Visée, why do you do that? What's the reason? I guess one of the guesses that many people have is that how much inégalité, how much uneven those notes should be, is not precise. And they wanted for the performer to decide how much of unevenness that notes should sound. Because they can sound not only as our material says, that's as triplets, something like, but it can also be as dotted 18th with a 16th note. So in triplets, dotted, and it could be also even as a double dotted 18th note. And even things in between. So because there is a gap between playing triplets and playing in dotted rhythms, and you can be there. Probably that's, we will guess, but let's try as much as possible to play in triplets for now. And so remember, I asked you to count out loud the tempo on our previous piece, Mrs. Winter's Jump. I will make the same request here, and you definitely should do that, especially from the third beat of the measure 12 to the end of the piece. Especially this section, you really should put the metronome in a very slow tempo. I will not do right now so slowly because I'm used to that and I study that piece, but go as slow as 30 BPM, okay? And then you will count loud the tempo divisions. For example, 1 la li, 2 la li, 3 la li, 1 la li, 2 la li, 3 la li, 1 la li, 2 la li, 3 la li, 1 la li, 2 la li, 3 la li, and so on. Okay? It's very important for you to do that, and I recommend you to use a control game as I asked in Mrs. Winter Jump, because a control game not only is fun, but also it makes sure that you repeat enough to make sure that you are playing more times right than wrong, and that you're not playing so much times right as you are just repeating the same section and not moving forward. Okay. It's important that piece is a baroque piece, and in this piece, also especially baroque slow pieces such as this, it's very important for you to know the harmony so you can shape the dynamics but also the color using the harmony. Remember, tonic function, or any chord which is tonic something, it's supposed to be release. Subdominant, moderate tension. Dominant, strong tension. And remember also the chords with individual relationships. For example, a dominant of the dominant is more tense than the dominant itself. Okay? So we start at the tonic, then dominant, tonic. I won't do the ornament, just make sure the harmony. Then tonic, anti-relative, dominant. This could be called, this chord is quite hard to describe in tonal music. It can, but it's a very difficult description. What clearly is happening is that you are moving from an F major chord to a D major chord. Oh, D minor, sorry. F major to a D minor chord. And instead of jumping all voices right into the D minor chord, Roberto Visee decided to use the note in between. So instead of going from F to D, F, E, D, instead of going from C to A, C, B, A, instead of going to A, from A to F, A, G, F. And then when those notes in between meet, we have this E minor chord, but that's not really what's going on. It's just some stepwise motion from this F, which is a tonic anti-relative, to a subdominant, and then dominant, dominant of the subdominant, subdominant major. So it's a change of mode. It's nice to use color to make more clear that you would be expecting one kind of chord, a D minor, but you're receiving a brighter chord, so add some brightness. Then the subdominant relative, tonic relative, tonic, dominant of the dominant, 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 tonic, tonic major, which is also called tonic with the third of Picardy, then subdominant major, tonic relative, dominant of the subdominant of the tonic relative is still tonic of the dominant of the tonic relative, dominant of the tonic relative with an appoggiatura. Then here we have the note, the correct chord note. Then tonic, subdominant relative, dominant, tonic, then dominant of the dominant. Dominant, tonic, tonic relative, subdominant relative, dominant, tonic, dominant of the dominant, dominant, tonic, of course. Then we have some ornaments. The very first ornament of the piece, which in Baroque was considered an ornament is the arpeggio. Nowadays we don't consider it an ornament because it doesn't change the note. But any embellishment in the Baroque was considered an ornamentation. So on the first time, I decided to play piece. People are hearing the piece for the first time. It's on a tonic chord, so I decided just to play a soft arpeggio with the thumb in all strings. Remember, to make the notes blend, it's important for you to play in the same region. So play in a line which is 90 degrees to the strings. If you play with your hand glued on the guitar and then make this movement, you will start with one color and end with another. That's not good to blend the notes. To blend is better. Unglue your arm and move your whole hand in a perpendicular line to the strings. Okay? When I repeat, I made interesting arpeggio that's also possible in French music, but it's more common in the music of Ludovico Roncalli from Italy. This chord, the easiest way to play, I don't know if it's because of my nail shape, doesn't sound well. The easiest way is you freeze your hand in a position, not exactly as if you were playing on neighbor strings, but as if you were jumping one string, like the A, as if the A would be playing on the first, the M on the third, and the I on the 50th string. And then you kind of hold your hand like that and move, or with the same shape without moving, or stretching the finger after the first contact with the strings. It's not sounding so bad right now, for my surprise, but I believe because of my nail shape, they are curved in a unique way. For me, it's easier to do in a crossing way. So I first and A last. And then it sounds as if it were more than one person playing the guitar. That's an interesting effect, especially for the second time you're playing the same stuff, because the same thing, the same way, just after you heard, that's hard. Okay? Measure 2, we have a trillo. You start with the D and go to the C. Trillos, especially on the Baroque, should sound in accelerando and decrescendo. So, and of course, stay some time on the real note, which is the C. You should always begin with the dissonance. Almost always start from the dissonant will mean that you should start on the top note. But the rule is not start with the top note. The rule is start from the dissonance. So the chord is an A minor chord, A. The C is part of the A minor chord, therefore a consonance to the chord. D is not part of the A minor chord. So it's a dissonance to the chord. You start from the dissonance in Baroque. Okay? My guitar should be, I should bring it to the luthier, so it should, it's not well regulated. I don't know if I'm using the correct English term for me, you know, and it's an epidemic right now, so I will have to take some time, and especially because of that, I'm also planting my A finger on the first string, so if any problem on the legato happens, it will be muted and you won't be disturbed by that. So you're not using the right hand anyway, so instead of using it for combing your hair, you are just making sure that things are going okay with no risk. Okay? Then on measure 4, on the repetition, I decided to add an ornament just like on the second measure. But here I've decided to use a 2-string ornament, a 2-string trillo. For 2-string trillo, the left hand is not really what matters. People are most in doubt of what to do with the right hand. And you should use all 4 fingers to make that trillo. And you should organize them in one of these 2 logics. Both work. So first is extremes, then middles. Extremes and middles. And the other is just skip the neighbors. A with I, M with P. Okay? So you will have to start from the E because you're using a trillo on the D, so it would be D, E. E is not part of the chord, so we start from the E, the dissonance. Therefore, you will be already starting with the A. Then the doubt starts with which note should I play the D and keep on going. With the first logic, extremes, then middle, it should be A, B, M, I, A, B, M, I. Okay, it's not my favorite one. If you look closely, I made a small mistake because it's not my favorite one. My favorite one is skip the neighbors. So you just play with I, then the A, I'm sorry, just play the E with the A, then I, M, P, I, M, A, I, M, P, A, I, M, P. Like the order, trillo, decrescendo. Here you can control dynamics, so decrescendo, accelerando, decrescendo, stay a while on the real note before going to the next. Okay? We also have an ornament which I have added on measure 6, but it was a simple one. Just something like that. Just play the G and go to the F slowly, that's okay. Measure 10, we have another trillo. Remember, A with D at the same time, A, D, and then trillo. Plant the A to avoid any notes, any noises. Okay. And we have also on the last measure what I've done on the last ornament here. The first time I did it as a normal slur, but to end it, especially because to make sure it would sound without this percussive sound of the slur, I've did as if it were this glissandi. So keep the and then move to the next fret. Important, the movement is not only to the side, it's to the side and down. So use also your triceps to make sure you're putting an extra pressure down. If you just make the movement up, the hand will be a little bit loose and you may pass the fret you wish, or you may go without energy and release the string and then there will be no sound. So also down, use your triceps. After you reach the note, you can release that triceps pressure you just added. Okay? Fine. So, it's an interesting piece of music with French baroque characteristics. Watch out the harmony, enjoy the arpeggios. One of the trickiest things about this piece is that we always want to be the most astonishing ornaments possible. And sometimes we fall into the traps that those so much rich ornaments may lead us. So beware, okay? Cross a line for now and just go until that line. Later, When you have more time, when you are more mature, you can go back and add even more richer ornaments. But you know, it's interesting to play it safe for now. Have fun, nice studies.